Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. We're gonna kind of do a different type of video today. I spent the day with my sister and she kind of inspired this, so let's see how it turns out. And yeah, you could probably tell from the title, but I thought it would be nice to maybe, listen to her words of advice and feedback and kind of maybe share some of this stuff. So hopefully it's taken well and it's perceived well. And I probably am going to offend some people out there. And honestly, obviously I wouldn't be making this video if things didn't offend me. So, it goes both ways. I don't mean it that way to be not empathetic, but it's life. We all have opinions and they're kind of like assholes. They all stink and we all have them. So I am going to kind of be doing like a little mukbang too, because this is confessions of a mother and what do we all need when we're trying to get things off our chest and dealing with something. Some good old comfort food. So I got these at Trader Joe's yesterday. They're the cookie butter sandwich cookies. Their cookie butter spread is like such a guilty pleasure. So when I saw these, I was like, ooh. And I love shortbread cookies. So I was thinking that this might be a fun addition to these, this series is maybe going ahead and enjoying like a little mukbang style, mukbang, however it is. I guilty pleasure love milk, always have. And who doesn't like cookies and milk? I mean, a lot of people don't, so don't come at me. I know a lot of people don't. But so I figured what we would talk about today is maybe like a two-part to this. So why I've decided to naturally parent, an attachment parent, and then how my son's SPD has affected my parenting style, and then how everyone else's opinion affects me. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So it might be a long video, it might be a short one, who knows. So my parenting style is definitely attachment parenting. So the practice of attachment parenting, you can Google it. Actually, you know what? Let's Google it together. I'm right here on my computer. So attachment parenting is a parenting style where you're creating a bond and a trust with your children. And it's definitely not easy. It's definitely takes a lot more work, especially in the beginning. And it definitely is not easy. I already said that. Especially in the beginning. Because your kid solely counts on you. And usually your significant other as they're just everything. So, and it really bonds you guys. So, parents everywhere seek a close emotional bonds with their babies. They also just strive to develop a parenting style that works with their values. Some parents modeling, I'm looking it up on WebMD, which is not really helping. Okay, so this is what Wikipedia says. Attachment parenting is a parenting philosophy that proposes methods which aim to promote the attachment of parent and infant, not only by maximal parental empathy, and responsiveness, but also by continuous bodily closeness and touch. The term attachment parenting was coined by the American pediatrician William Sears. So that is that. In family sociology, attachment parenting is considered the most striking manifestation of intense mothering. The doctrine has hence been targeted by a criticism from a host of objectors. So obviously, here on Wikipedia, even a whole bunch of people are already saying that, whatever. But attachment parenting is definitely, here it's saying, so birth bonding, breastfeeding, baby wearing, co-sleeping, crying as an attachment tool, no sleep training, balance, and then it's same for parental authority. Series states that the attachment family, parents, and children practice a highly developed and sophisticated type of communication that makes it unnecessary for parents to use practices such as scalding. Often all it takes is a mere frown. He is convinced that children who trust, it's all about trust their parents are cooperative and don't resist parental guidance. He therefore recommends positive discipline, and in his contrast to many attachment parenting, he is fundamentally opposed to confrontive motives. So confrontive motives, i.e. spanking. Yeah. And he gives high significance to child obedience and consciousness. Okay, so let's talk about this. Attachment parenting is definitely draining. That's why I look like a hot mess today. My son has been dealing with all kinds of feels lately, like all kinds of feels. He has SPD. He's a sensory seeker. I have been working hard lately, and I also had like my week of finals. So I've but I really worked on myself in the last, 10 to 15 years to make sure that whenever something's going on in my life with the people around me, I try to look in the mirror, okay? So definitely parenting, that was natural for me to look in the mirror whenever my child's misbehaving or going through something. So I've been really looking in the mirror lately and saying, okay, like what's going on? And I thought, okay, maybe he's definitely dealing with something. Maybe it's because I've been working a little bit more lately. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. And maybe it's because, I'm a little stressed because of some things going on at work. So maybe like that's affecting my patience level or my emotional output for him. And then the third thing was I had my finals coming up for my statistics class. So I was like, and that whole nother situation was definitely very stressful and creating a lot of anxiety. So I was like, well, maybe that's what's going on, is that I'm not pouring in. So then the last 2 days I've been really pouring into him, and definitely a lot of outbreaks and definitely a lot of struggles. But they say with kids that have these kind of relationships with their parents, that their mother usually, or their closest parental unit, is the one that receives a lot of the brunt of it. So, usually on these kind of days where he's dealing with these kind of things, I try to be understanding, because I'm his safe spot, which is exactly what I want to be for the rest of his life. Like, I want to love him through everything, not just when he's great, but I want to love him when he's struggling and when he's hurting and when he's in pain and when he makes bad decisions. Like, I want him to know that I'm here, I love him, and I will always be here, and I will always love him. And I feel like that definitely has been a trial and tribulation today and in the last 48 hours, because he's been struggling. He's definitely had a lot, and when he struggles, it's mostly for me. So that means a lot of meltdowns and a lot of just a lot. So I wanted to talk about attachment parenting a little bit. I wanted to talk about then how it kind of affects my son with his sensory processing disorder. So Emmett's a sensory seeker. He's just a curious mind, and he loves to explore and get into everything. But the thing is with Emmett is that he has to figure something out, and he has to really tackle it before he can fully step away from it. So you have to give him warnings. You have to transitioning's really hard. So getting into the car, getting out of the car, getting into like starting an activity like dinner, finishing an activity like dinner, starting a bath time, ending a bath time. All those things are really hard, and we have to keep them like really on it. So I keep alarms on my phone for like our normal morning routine, because you can't see them on my watch, but on my phone. So every morning I have like a wake up one. I have a wake up one. I have like a get dressed, a breakfast, I get in the car. I have an alarm for everything with emojis next to it to help with the transition. And all of these things, they do help, but they definitely, and he's can manage, like, it's not like he has to live like a strict like on the schedule. Like, he can manage back and forth, but the only problem is that the schedule is just what keeps it going more fluidly. So that, with attachment parenting, the thing is that like what people don't understand, what I go through or what he goes through, is that it's hard because you're supposed to be responsive to your child and you're supposed to be understanding and empathetic. So when he's coming to me and he's got a serious concern, like something we go through on a daily basis is his clothing. It bothers him. And you know what? We'll get into this in a second too, and I'm sorry, but this I'm gonna get real blunt and real crude here, but nobody else gets it. And I don't give a fuck if nobody else gets it, because my child is the one that's suffering. And you can have all the opinions you want, but like, you don't know how it feels to be overstimulated so bad that it just makes you want to explode. So on a daily basis, we go through struggles where clothing isn't fitting him comfortably or right. And, that'll be a struggle. Lately, his feet are super sensitive and bothering the hell out of him. Do I know why? No, but that's not my place to know why. Yes, is it socially acceptable to wear shoes in public? Yes. Is there hygienic reasons why he needs to wear shoes in certain situations? Absolutely. And that's where being a parent and being empathetic that my child is complaining that his feet hurt. Anytime a shoe's on him, he's saying, my feet hurt. And it could just be that he's had too much stimulation, and those shoes are the one last thing of like stimulation on him that he just can't handle. It might be the straw that's breaking his back. But that's where, as a parent, I'm stuck, like I understand that, okay, yes, it's socially acceptable for him to wear shoes, which honestly is like on the bottom of my priority list. I don't give a fuck, But I also understand that, like, yeah, he can't be walking out in public with nasty ass people, like germs and people and things and dogs and animals and feces that are all over the floor, and then like be carrying that and glass and all the things that he would step on. Not okay. So like, I know he needs to wear shoes, but it's hard, and it's hard because again, it's in my soul, it's in my gut, it's in my core that like I want to be empathetic to these young lives that are in my life that I feel like we need to be empathetic. Like, I am backtracking a little bit, but I think it's important to backtrack a little bit, is that I feel like a lot of times that when it comes to it, we kind of feel like our children or somebody under 18 doesn't have any rights or say so or deserves respect. But why? Why doesn't their voice matter? Now I get it, their brain's not fully developed and they don't have the right conscious mind to make certain decisions, and that's where our jobs as parents and leaders and mentors and family members are there to help guide them and to help bring out the best version of themselves. But when it comes down to it, we also do have a responsibility to hear them, to allow their voice to shine. to allow them to express themselves. And again, this is my opinion, and this is what works for me, and this is what I can look myself in the mirror at night and go to sleep. But they also, so they in my opinion, they do deserve a voice. They do deserve rights. They do deserve love, and they do deserve all those things. But another big part of that is that your children, if you're parenting them and you're instilling fear in them, that's great. If that works for you, you do you, boo. But eventually, your children, especially if your children are intelligent kids, they're going to eventually become smarter and wiser and grow up and realize that that fear is just fear. And then what are they left with? So I would like to show my child respect and love and care, so that when he grows up and he realizes that he would have lost respect for me, or the fear would have gone away and he wouldn't have had anything left in, that when that fear would have gone away, me and him have a heightened relationship instead of a relationship that just fell down. And normally when your kids get to a point where they stop fearing you is when they're a teenager or a young adult and they don't fear you anymore. And then what happens to a parent and a child relationship? It kind of falls off usually then, because the fear is gone. So that's why it's important for me to do this, is to create that foundation and work. But it's completely exhausting. And then we're going to go in the last part of this conversation, because this is what I want to get off my chest. And honestly, it's what is so frustrating is that, I've articulated these decisions and I've thought about this process, and I do what's right because I'm the parent, and it's in my instinct and my gut and my soul tells me to parent this way. But it doesn't mean that as a parent, I don't doubt my every decision and every thought process when my kid is in the middle of having a meltdown over shoelaces or shoes or a statue that he can't touch. Like, all of these things, I'm doubting myself. And they say that it takes a village to raise a child, and it is so true. I feel like a village raised me, and I hope that a village raises my son, because you only grow from everybody around you. And I feel like I wish that for him, and I'm thankful for that was me, But it doesn't make anything easier when village members are always constantly doubting you, judging you, not supporting you. And I'm not just talking about like family members or friends. I'm talking about like people around you. Like, nobody's child is it's your decision, And I just feel so frustrated about that, because parenting isn't always spanking your children or yelling at them or showing them who's boss. Parenting is being empathetic and listening and hearing and asking them, what's wrong? Let's talk about this. Can you explain how you feel? That's, to me, what a true person that's trying to bring out the best in their child would do. Not just push them down and spank them and say, that's bad behavior. Okay, well, why is that bad behavior? You're not teaching anything. That's not how the real world works. You don't go to work and do bad at your job and your boss give you a spanking. I mean, you don't. You go to work, you do a bad job, you have a performance improvement plan usually, where you have to have a sit-down meeting with your boss and talk about what you suck at and how you're gonna fix it. So I just don't understand why we don't think. And again, raising your children is it's a job, but it's different, way more important in my opinion. I mean, I would imagine almost any parent would think that. And I don't understand why we wouldn't give our children the same decency to have a conversation with them. I don't care if you're 2. I don't care if you're 2 months. I don't care if you're 12. I don't care if you're 22. Like, that's what parenting is like caring enough about your child to have a conversation with them, to talk to them, to actively listen to them and hear them. And usually when your kid's going through something, as a mother, I mean, I can't speak as a father, but I mean, I can see how the fathers that I've dealt with and I've seen close to me, how they deal with it. It's hard, you know? I mean, I think the only times I've ever seen both my dads cry is from times where I, as a kid, was going through something hard for them to deal with. And it didn't mean that they didn't love me because they were crying. It meant that we were going through something hard as a family. And I think those times where my parents showed the most empathy is the times in my life that I look back and I truly feel loved. I truly feel loved when I messed up and my parents still chose to like love me, you know? I mean, like, I don't know, you know, like, life is hard, and your parents are supposed to be the ones that, like, just kind of help you make it less hard, you know? And I feel like I just wish that people would stop saying stupid stuff like, you should just spank your child, you should just yell at them, you should just show them who's boss, da, 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 da. Like, why are you letting your child scream like that, you know? And it's like the looks you get, like, I mean, Emmett's had more meltdowns in the last week than he's had in the last year, okay? And, you know, it's like he's sitting in the middle of Publix and everyone's huffing and puffing because they can't get through the door. And, like, if the second I pick him up, then it intensifies the meltdown. And that's where people don't understand. Like, I don't need to spank my child. He's a sensory seeker. When he's upset about something, he's already beating the shit out of himself. Do you understand that? He's already beating the shit out of himself. He's literally smacking himself in the face, pinching himself, squeezing his own arm, biting himself. Like, I don't need to spank him. How is that going to be effective? My child is already placing harm onto himself. Why would I add that to him? And why wouldn't I try to be understanding and caring and loving and just be there for him? A friend of mine recommended a great book, and if anybody stumbles upon this video because of something that you're going through as a parent and your kid has sensory problems, it's called, oh God, now my brain just blanked. It's called The Out of Sync Child. The Out of Sync Child. And it talks about all those things. And one of the main things I took from it, and I mean, it's one of those books that you could read it and read it and read it and have it on audiobook and just play it over and over again. Because I feel like as a parent, every time I'm going through something hard, I could probably use more knowledge from it. But it talks about in there how, like, when your kid is overstimulated, nothing you do is being absorbed. Like, it's like when a bathtub is completely full, when you add more water to it, it's not doing anything, it's just continuing to make the water overflow. It's the same thing with this, like with the overstimulated child. Like, anything you say, it's not gonna help. You know, your kid's the bathtub's already overflowing, and until like the water starts to decrease, you're not gonna be able to add anything to the bathtub. And I know that, and that's the thing too, is like what works for some parents, it might work. Like, spankings might work for some parents, and that's completely okay. If that works for you, that works for you. I mean, I don't know if I agree if it's completely okay. You should probably do some research, because when you open that can of worms, I think you'll see how seriously detrimental it is on the psychology of a child to spank them. Horrible, like, scientific proof, you know. And even if you look at, if you're not a science believer, that's fine too, because you can even read the Bible, and the Bible says, like, you should not anger your child. It says it in the Bible. You shall not anger your child. Don't think spanking is angering your child, like a spanking, anyways, whatever. So that's kind of my confessions of a mom for the night. I definitely have been getting it handed to me in the mom department. And you know what? Just when things get hard like this, usually, the next month will be amazing and a dream. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to put in hard work to reap the benefit of it. So I'm just going to keep putting in the hard work, and I hope my son will be the best version of himself that he can be. And I know he will be, because that's what he's determined and bound to be, is the best version of him. You know, to end it on a positive note, he's definitely got a lot of tantrums lately, but I waited 3 years for this kid to really get vocal. He never really talked a lot when he was, you know, a baby and stuff. When he did talk, it was usually like full sentences, like, "What is that, mama?" I mean, he signed impressively a lot. Like, me and him can have a full conversation for at least 10 minutes with sign language. But we started talking recently, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. I get emotional thinking about it, but, you know, watching him come up with funny songs. He loves to dance lately. It's so great. And he's such a comedian. He says things, and if you don't laugh, he'll say, "Wasn't that funny?" I love that. I love that he loves to laugh. I love that he loves to make people laugh. I love that he's got a quick wit to him at 3.5. It's funny. And it's cute. You know, he is an empathetic boy. You know, he's a good boy, but it's just been a hard week. And you know, I mean, today I even had to come home and say, "Can I go out and go shopping?" My husband was like, "Yeah, go." So I went out and went shopping. Bedtime was still rough, so my husband said, "Why don't I take over?" I vegged out on the TV for probably a couple hours. Yeah, not that bad. It's only like 10:50. And then I decided, you know what? Let me get on here and kind of get this off my chest. So I appreciate you listening. It means a lot to me. And I hope that this helps anybody out there. And if you guys, like I said, I keep saying, if you guys have certain topics that you want me to talk about or something that you'd like to hear, let me know, because, you know, we're in it together. And I know that this is why I felt the need to have a platform and somewhere that I could speak on, because when I found out that my son had SPD, I didn't feel, I couldn't really find anything. And it's a different, and it's unique, and your child, I mean, I saw a photo the other day that said this and this are the same child. This child's socially acceptable of having a problem because he had noise canceling earphones on, and he was like playing with a fidget spinner, and it said this child, who looked completely normal in the picture, it's not socially acceptable for him to have a meltdown. And I was like, yeah, like, and you know, her son had autism, where we don't, you know, my son doesn't have autism. He's just a sensory seeker that gets overstimulated. And I have to, as his mom, help him figure out how to cope with that. So, thank you so much for the time, guys. Please like and subscribe, and have a good day.